Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Show with your host, Jeff Lopes, where we bring you the world's top athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, influencers, and their journeys to success.
Welcome to episode 178 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today three-time Mr. Olympia, Frank Zane. Sit back, everyone, and enjoy. We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today Frank Zane. What is up, brother?
Thanks very much, Jeff. It's good to be here with you.
This is going to be a fun conversation. Frank is, for everybody that obviously knows who Frank is, I mean, an incredible career in the bodybuilding world. And he's has a mission on bringing the glory years of bodybuilding back to life, which I think is pretty amazing. Like I grew up going through Flex magazines, and like I was born in '77, so that was when you won your first Mr. Olympia, which is pretty amazing. Let's talk about Frank growing up. Like, when was the first interaction with actually lifting a weight or getting into physical activity? What age were you, and how did that all come to light? Was somebody showed you? Like, how did it all come to light with you?
It was right around age 14. Before that, I had an incident at Boy Scout camp where we're all sitting around a campfire, and there was a log there that was about 5 feet wide and had notches at the end where you can grab it. And everybody tried to lift it, and they couldn't. I almost made it, but there was only one guy that lifted it, and it wasn't me. So I was motivated by that. And so when I got home, I started lifting weights, and it all took off from there.
When did you actually start seeing like the results where it's like, even at that age 14, because my son just turned 14 and he's been working out for quite a few years, but we just got a membership at a gym. So he trains with me at the gym now, which is pretty amazing. They start that age. So when did you actually start seeing results and being like, this is something where my body's reacting to it? And how did that lead you into your first competition?
When I started, I was working out at the YMCA with barbells. And I didn't really see much happening. But then I saved my money and bought a set of adjustable dumbbells that would adjust up to 15 pounds on each dumbbell, and started working out with those 3 days a week on upper body, 3 days a week working legs, squatting mainly. And I saw results in 2 weeks. Muscles popped out everywhere.
So you started quickly seeing the results.
Yes, when I started training with the dumbbells.
So what did you find the difference with the balance? Like, what did you find the difference result-wise with the dumbbells?
Well, there are more angles. You know, I would do things like dumbbell flies and what I would call around the world, where I go from a fly and let the dumbbells go back over my head lying down and then do a pullover, things like that. I could just do a lot of movements from different angles, and that stimulated all my muscles.
When was the first time you stepped on stage? What age?
I was 18. Actually, I went in, my first contest was Mr. Pennsylvania. And I didn't do well in that. I think I got last place, and it was because I didn't have points for athletic ability because I wasn't a weightlifter. But my next contest was Teenage Mr. America, and I got third place in that, my first trophy. And so I was all fired up after that. On top of that, at the contest, Bob Hoffman, the father of American weightlifting, I was backstage pumping up, and he came over to me and he said, "Young man, if I had a physique like yours, I'd walk around with my shirt off all the time." And so that's all I had to hear. And I knew I was destined for greatness hearing that. And so I kept at it.
When did you get your pro card? What age were you?
My pro card?
Yeah, well, like when did you actually start professionally bodybuilding and stepping onto a higher level stage?
There wasn't such a thing as pro cards when I was.
So there wasn't, yeah. So every competition would just continue on the higher level at that point.
But when I went into the IFBB, pro was like when you got money for competing.
Yeah.
And I really didn't get any money for competing until I won Mr. Olympia the first time. That was in 1977, and I won $5,000, which, of course, wasn't enough to pay for. That's about a month worth of training with that. Then the next year I won it, it was $10,000. And then the year after that I won, it was $20,000. So it was starting to get into money in 1979. And then it just got more after that. It went up to, I think, $100,000 to $30,000 for all those years that Lee Haney won it. And then it jumped up to, it's probably close to a $500,000 now.
So during that process, like, what were you doing career-wise, work-wise? Like, how did you balance that out? Because obviously you had to have a full-time job to pay for all the training and the supplements and the memberships and all that stuff like that. What did you do career-wise at that point?
I taught in the public schools. I was a mathematics teacher.
Well, you're a teacher.
Yeah, I did that for 13 years, right up until 1977, at which time I took sabbatical leave and trained full-time and then won my first Mr. Olympia.
And then from there on, career-wise, did you continue in the fitness industry, like training other athletes? Like, how did you work from there on?
Well, I competed for 3 years and won the title 3 years. In 1980, we opened up in Palm Springs an operation we called Zane Haven, which was a bodybuilding learning center. And we filled up for 10 weeks straight, where we take eight people for 5-day, 4-night sessions and teach them all about bodybuilding. And we continued to do that. We called it Zane Experience after about 6 years. And then we moved to a larger facility to Cary Grant Estate and continued in that up until about 1997, at which time we moved to our current location near San Diego in La Mesa, which is where we're at now.
Okay, so my quick question with the one thing, obviously, that everybody knows you by is obviously your posing, your angles, and like, obviously the small waistline. Just your physique was a lot different than at that time the Arnolds, the big guys, and stuff like that. How did you separate yourself? Like, how did you figure out, like, your posing and all that? Like, did you go through somebody teaching you, or is this something you figure out on your own, your posing, your angles, and all that stuff like that?
I more or less figured it out. My wife's a good photographer, and we used to take photos every couple of weeks, color slides, and I'd look at them and ascertain which were the best poses, and then put it together after that. You needed about 10 or 12 poses, and it wasn't that difficult for me to do.
What's your mindset when you look at bodybuilders nowadays, when you look at guys that are, I mean, their off season is 300 and something pounds and all that like that. Do you like really, really look back at the days, like you said, the golden era of bodybuilding? Do you think the guys are overdoing it now? Is it going too extreme? Like, where's your mindset? Do you like the way the world of bodybuilding is going? Like, where's your mindset with that?
That's something I would do. I learned, for me, it was best not to gain too much weight in the off season. If I competed at high 180s, low 190s, I wouldn't let my body weight go much over 200 pounds. So it wasn't that much that I had to shed, to get into top shape. I stayed closer to the end product. And that was my lesson.
That was your lesson. What was your interaction with, like, Frank Colombo and like Arnold and all that stuff like that? Do you have any good stories with guys like that?
We were all friends. We all trained at World Gym. And it was called Gold's Gym until, Joe Gold sold the name and then changed it to World Gym and moved it to Santa Monica. But we stuck with Joe's gyms.
Yeah. And
we all trained there. And so we were friends when we were training. I didn't compete against Arnold until 1980. Before that, we were sort of mentors for each other. I was his mentor for college algebra and math because he was going to school in Santa Monica City College, and I would tutor him for that. He gave me feedback on bodybuilding, little things about posing, but just all the smallest little details, he would pick up on them, and that's what you need to know. And, we both benefited.
How was he as a student?
Well, he did forced reps.
No, I'm saying in the educational system, in the school. How was he with a student, as a student to you?
Like I said, he did forced reps. Oh. After I would leave, he'd say, "I'm going to stay here and force myself to do another half hour of this." That was his forced reps.
Oh, very, very good.
Bodybuilding translated into his real life.
And obviously that's why he became so successful career-wise with acting and all that. I mean, he had a drive.
Uh-huh.
So what about Frank Colombo? I just found Frank Colombo such an interesting, I mean, obviously what he did career-wise and everything else after with the chiropractor and all that. I found him very interesting. How was Frank Colombo as an individual, training-wise with you?
Well, he was pretty natural. I mean, he had a really good metabolism, and he had a strong torso development. His chest, his abs, his lats were all, came up pretty easily. He was sort of lacking in legs and arms, but, he put it all together, and he did quite well with the help of Arnold, I think. I think Arnold sort of held the door open for him. In 1976, he won it, beating me by, and here's another thing. Who wins all depends on who the judges are, And in 1976, it was very close. Many people told me I should have won. And I learned one thing. When a lot of people tell you should have won one year, you'll probably win it the next year. And that's what I did. I stuck with it, went in the next year, and then won it that year, and then 2 years after that. So that was the lesson. Arnold gave me a lot of good feedback on my training. Basically, he knows a lot about training and presentation. So he gave me good advice.
Was there one rival that you had that really, really kept you on your toes, rivalry-wise on stage?
Competitor?
Yeah, competitor, yeah.
I think the best guy I competed against was Robbie Robinson, who was fantastic. I think that he sort of was the kind of guy who looked incredible in the gym 2 weeks before, but at the contest, he wasn't as good. Whereas I was the other way around. I wasn't really quite ready 2 weeks before, but I was really ready when the contest came around. So I think the way he peaked wasn't as good as the way I did it. And then there was Mike Menser, too. He was a competitor, especially in 1979.
Yeah. So how did you really tone into your diet like that? Like, did you have anybody teaching you, or was this just trial and error through your diet? Did they really, really keep that all the way, like the peak at the right time and all that?
Nobody taught me. It was all from personal experience and what I had learned before. You learn by your mistakes, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. So by the time I really got serious in the late 70s, I knew pretty much exactly what to do. And I did.
How many years did you compete after you won your last Olympia?
Let's see, there was 1980, then 82 and 83, 3 more years.
3 more years. So what age were you when you stopped competing at the Mr. Olympia?
41.
41. You always hear athletes. Did you compete any more at that point, or that was done with the competition side? You always hear.
Basically, I was focused more on teaching it than competing. I had already competed from 1960 to 1983. I think, well, that's enough of that. I learned what I needed to know, and now I could teach to other people. And that was how I made my living anyway. So, I wasn't going to stick around in bodybuilding because I was already 41 and I had a couple of injuries, and I could foresee those getting worse, which they would have if I would have kept plugging away at that level of intensity.
What injuries were what were the injuries?
Shoulders, lower back, basically.
When you trained, did you focus on lifting heavy, or is it more you're looking at more of the reps? Like how was your training regimen?
I worked up in weight on every set. I went heavier every set, and I kept my reps between, say, 6 and 12 for the most part.
Okay. So why I was asking that was, you always hear pro athletes, whether it's as a hockey player or a baseball player or a football player. I mean, when they have to step away from the sport, I mean, you kept it because you obviously looked at you really focus on the teaching at that point and educating at that point, but it's a hard pass, a hard way to just step away from a sport that you love so much, right? And you find yourself still stuck to it and emotionally wanting to step on stage. Did you ever have that? Did you ever want to come back on stage?
No, I was happy to step away from it.
Yeah,
it was just a lot of hard work, and basically when you have injuries, which you're bound to pick up something along the way, it gets painful.
Yeah.
So I was glad not to have to step on stage anymore. I was thankful.
Yeah. There's Eric, the trainer, ring a bell, the name?
Yeah, he's a friend. I first saw him about 7-8 years ago. He came to see me for one of my seminar programs, a 3-day program, and he's a good guy.
Yeah, I had him on. Personality. I had him on the podcast recently. Yeah, I had him on the podcast recently, and your name came up, and he had a picture of you in his office, and he talked very, very highly of you and as a human and as a man. So I just wanted to bring that up because I have a good relationship with Eric as well.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him.
Yeah. He was very fond of you. Yeah, that's awesome. So when you look at yourself, and obviously, I mean, take away the bodybuilding aspect of it. I mean, you're a natural entrepreneur. Since then, you've always been in one form or another working for yourself. Did you see that as a kid? Did you always have that itch or grind to be an entrepreneur as a kid?
Well, I don't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I always did better when I was working by myself. I was sort of a loner with everything. I was not a team player. I played team sports, and it wasn't for me. You know, I couldn't do what other people wanted me to do. I had to do my own way. And so bodybuilding was perfect for me. I was the one that was in charge. It was my body. I called it my living laboratory. And of course, I had a science background. You know, I taught mathematics, but I was a chemistry major in my first 2 years in college. I guess that's how I earned the nickname, the chemist. Yeah. And I've always been, I'm more of a cook than a chemist.
Explain
that. The difference?
No.
A cook in chemistry is one who follows the experiment like a recipe book. That's what I did. And I was very good that way. A chemist is one who knows the entire theory of it and just does it naturally on instinct. I wasn't like that.
Okay.
I was good at following directions like from a cookbook.
Yeah, interesting. I love that. I love that explanation of that. So now let's take us into the past the bodybuilding. Obviously, you said 83 on when you started training and having your own facility and all that stuff like that. Was there any young bodybuilders that you worked with that actually went on to really, really high levels in the bodybuilding world?
Are you ready to unlock your full potential? I want to introduce you to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, a powerful resource to transform your life today. With expert interviews, practical tips, and inspiring stories, this podcast is your roadmap to lasting wellness. Here's what a listener has to say.
I used to struggle with my health, but this podcast changed everything. It's like having a personal trainer, nutritionist, and life coach totally for free.
With over 2,000 five-star reviews, we're a podcast you can trust. The Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
There were, but not to a great extent, and not real young. Like Sadiq Kadzovich was one of them. I saw him when he was already well on his way. Another one is Michael Hearn.
Yeah.
Again, I saw him when he was well on his way. And I really didn't work with him too much, maybe just a few times. I would have liked to work with him more on his posing and presentation, because I don't even know what that looks like, because I've never seen him pose. But he's incredible. He's just naturally a big guy, weighs 266.
Yeah, he's a big man.
Has everything developed. I think he could be the very best there is if he keeps at it. But I would love to keep working with him. So, Mike, please call me. If he hears this, I can really help him out, because see, I've been there.
He's not Mike's got to be Michael Harry. He's got to be in his, I'm assuming, mid to late 40s. He's got to be 53. Up there. He's 53.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks incredible. He looks incredible. Like, you wouldn't even tell his age, but he looks incredible. And he's still at it really, really hard.
He's good for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I thought I seen a post recently that he posted something about you, if I'm not mistaken. So for some reason, I thought you two still work together. So I'll say
that was probably from the last time he came to me and see me, and we worked out together, and I checked him out on his form, on the exercises he was doing, and he's really good. He's got everything down. He doesn't need much help in his training or his diet. He knows what to do, but I could give him some tips on his presentation, which everybody needs feedback on that.
Yeah. So did you, another one was Lee Hanley. Did you step on stage with Lee Hanley or no?
Lee Haney.
Yeah, Haley. Yeah. Did you step on stage with him?
No, Haney. Not Haley. Lee Haney.
Haney. Did you step on stage with him? Haney. Did you?
Yeah, I competed against him.
How many times did you step on stage with him?
I think once. My last year, 1983, I got fourth, and I think he was third.
Yeah.
And he was just a big guy, you know. He had a lot of good, like his back was incredible. He was still a little bit crude in this presentation.
Yeah.
You know.
But he's done. He did obviously. I mean, he went on to be.
He came back after the next year. He looked really good. I was there. I was doing TV commentary in 1984. The first year he won it, and he was really good that year. And then for the next 7-8 years, he won it.
Yeah. So you have, when I was reading something about that, you've dedicated obviously the photography side and part of the bodybuilding side, really trying to preserve the golden age. Is that has anything to do with your wife? You said your wife's a photographer. Is she part of that?
Well, she's the one that takes the photos, and I'm not really the subject of that anymore.
But you guys are still involved in that?
No. We don't go to contests and photograph people, although we did for a while way back when, but we're really not involved in it. There are a lot of good photographers still out there, you know.
Yeah. What I was talking about was the Zane gallery. Do you still have that?
No, that was about 5 years ago in Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
That started up, but it never took off. And we had some disagreements among the people who were doing it, so we just let it go.
Oh, okay. So it never came about that.
No.
How with the social media? How old are you right now, Frank?
79. I'll be 80 in about 2 months.
You look amazing. Congratulations on that. When you look at social media, and you've obviously, when I'm looking at your Instagram account, and you've really, do you have somebody running your account, or do you still run it yourself?
My wife does a lot of it, and then I have a IT person, who does some of it too. So between the two of them. Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing how you've actually and when I look at other bodybuilders or other people that had a great career in their 70s and 80s, they really haven't taken it to technology like you have. And with your online platform right now, with your coaching, your teaching, how busy are you with that right now? And what do you do with your online platform?
I don't really have any kind of definite plans for that. I just post when I feel it's necessary, when I have something to say or find something really interesting. So I really don't have no definite plans laid out for what I do or what I'd like to do. I'm not giving anything away.
You're not giving anything away.
Be surprised. Just be surprised when you see it.
I love it. Where do you see yourself career-wise? I mean, obviously, are you still actually actively working with clients, or are you more of a retirement stage now? Like, what are you doing? What's a day-to-day operation? What does a day-to-day look like for Frank right now?
It's pretty open. You know, I work out myself. I have a gym at my facility here, 600 square foot gym that has everything in it. And I work out there. My wife does too. And clients come to see me. We call it Zane Experience. Usually it's either 1, 2, or 3-hour sessions. And I do those on a regular basis. Sometimes I'm busier than others. When I'm not, I shoot archery. I have an archery range on my property. That's one of my passions I've done for quite a few years. So I do that a few times a week.
When did that start, that passion?
Right about when I started training. I was about 12 years old when I started. Got my first bow. And I was an archery instructor at Boy Scout camp when I was a junior and senior in high school. So I've been at it a long time.
Have you ever tried to compete? Did you ever compete with that, or is it just more of just a hobby?
I taught I was teaching and I was living in Reading, Pennsylvania, And I went to the field archery range there, and I competed there, and I think I won a trophy. It was like expert class A. I think I had like a 401 or something like that. You shoot at all these different distances at different size targets. And I really liked it. I don't do any of that anymore. I just do it for fun.
Did you ever do it in a hunting aspect, or it was just more sport?
I hunted when I was 15, and I did shoot a deer, but I felt sorry. I'm not a killer.
Yeah.
And that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I basically went with a friend of mine and his father, who were hunters. And, I basically got a lucky shot off and nabbed this spike buck. And we were eating venison for a while, but it wasn't for me. I used to roam the fields shooting at rabbits, and I would never hit them because they're so small. But, I hit one once, and then that I didn't like it. I don't like killing things.
Yeah. So you do it, like I said, as a sport, just for a couple times a week still. It's a great activity as well, right? Keeps you sharp.
For accuracy.
Yeah, that's just a amazing focus. Amazing focus. I got a piece of property, and it's something that I would like to start doing with my son as well. We were talking about it recently. We bought a couple sets of some stuff, just amateur stuff, just to play around with and just see how he reacts to it. But I think it's such an incredible.
Check out Lancaster Archery. They're a big distributor of equipment, and they have everything, and all the top pros go there too.
Okay, very, very cool. Lancaster. I'll check that out. Through the process, do you have a book of your? Have you ever written a book?
I've written several books.
You want to
My
talk
main
about
one
them?
is, I have it right here, is the Zane Bodybuilding Manual.
When did that come out?
Oh, it's been out about 2 years, and it's massive. It's 436 pages. It's everything I know about bodybuilding in here.
How long did it take you to put that together? Like, Ashley, did you have somebody help you put together? I mean, that's a thick book.
My whole life.
Yeah, huh?
I'm a writer. I write all the time. So basically, I have stuff that I've done, and I more or less assemble a lot of it. I did a bodybuilding magazine for 16 years called Building the Body. And the material I wrote for that, I have access to it. And I edit it and combine it and write more about it when I publish things like this. So that's the textbook. And here's the workbook, the Zane 91-Day Wonder Body. It's 3 months, 91 days of what to do every single day, the whole training routine. And it goes through 18 different training routines in the process. And it's designed to teach you how to train. It's an education going through that book.
Do you get into diet as well with that, or just
Yes,
the training?
Yes. But it's not about diet. It's more about training and stretching between sets. And the diet I handle in the manual, that all the tips about food preparation and eating, and that's all taken care of in the manual.
So you said you've been writing your whole entire life. It is something you started from a young age. Was just something you had a passion for?
Well, it's something I made a living with. The first book I wrote, what was it? 1977. We got a literary agent in New York, and he got us a deal with Simon & Schuster. And we wrote our first book, The Zane Way to a Beautiful Body, in hardcover, then in paperback. We did a 25-city tour, and it was very successful. From that success, we wrote another book called Super Bodies in 12 Weeks. That was very successful too. And then from that, I wrote, what was the name of that? I can't think of the name of it now, but it was the third book we wrote. And that was successful. I basically bought the rights back from the publishing company and published it myself. And I sold a lot of that book. I sold like 10,000 copies in 1 year.
Wow.
Fabulously Fit Forever was the name of it.
Yeah.
Now, all these books are still available as ebooks. So I don't put anything out in hardcover anymore. If I'm going to write anything, it goes as an ebook because it's very accessible to people.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper, and it's right there, and they can get it easily.
Have you, any of your books, have you thought of doing audiobooks of them, or you already have them out, audiobooks versions?
I really haven't done much along those lines. I might still do it.
I mean, you look at the audiobook world and the podcast world. I mean, a lot of people, they spend most of their time in the car listening, and it's something that I think a lot of people could take out of, right? Especially your knowledge.
I might do it.
Interesting. There, you get something.
I have no plans right now to do it, but I think about it.
Yeah. Knowledge-wise, when you look at, like I said, I asked you this before, when you look at the world of bodybuilding nowadays, what is like? Do you follow it now? Do you follow all the young guys and all that? Do you still follow it?
I look at it on Instagram and Facebook. That's about it. I don't really follow it very closely. I just see what's going on. Sometimes I comment.
Yeah. Is there anybody from your era of competing that you still have a close relationship with?
I'm in touch with Lou Ferrigno. We email back and forth.
Yeah.
I like Louis. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what he does. I mean, everything he's done is pretty amazing too. I follow him too. Yeah. Pretty amazing there too. So what do you like when you look at yourself now and obviously everything you've accomplished? Like, is there ever a moment, and I ask people this all the time, like, is there ever a moment that you sit back and like, wow, like throughout all these years, I've done so much. I've been on stage, I've traveled the world. Like, is there moments where you just like, you pinch yourself, like what a career I had?
Yes, but that only lasts about 15 seconds. And then I think everything is not enough.
I love that.
And I keep going.
I love that. I mean, that's a natural entrepreneur, right? I've been self-employed for 26 years. So you always have that mindset, right? You always want more.
There's always something else you can do.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy when I sit back and I mean, you entered a sport, an individual sport, which makes it that much more harder, and got to the top. And you were at the top for 3 straight years where, I mean, not many people could ever say that. There's only one person a year that can say that, right? Which is pretty incredible what you've accomplished. And your legacy, obviously, with your education and what you're teaching, your books and your magazines, like you've put so much knowledge out into the world, which is incredible, right? So I want to commend you on that, everything you've accomplished. What do you see in the near future for yourself? Like where else? You said you don't stop. Is there anything you're working on right now?
Complete and total enlightenment.
Explain more.
Well, basically, to have an empty mind, totally empty, open to all the ideas in the universe. Not any kind of preconceived notions, just empty and open. And that's what I work on. That's why I meditate, clearing my mind.
And when did you start focusing on meditation? Has this something you've been doing for a long time
ago?
Yeah.
About the same time I started working out.
So that young of an age, huh?
A lot of things happened to me at age 14. Basically, I discovered bodybuilding, weight training, discovered archery, got pretty good at that, and also playing harmonica, which I inherited from my father. And I still do that. I'm no pro, but I like playing. Also, I've learned to make flutes out of bamboo. So I make and play bamboo flutes. I make what's called the Zen meditation flute, the shakuhachi. I made a few of those. So, it's a challenge. I like making things.
So a man of many trades. I love that.
Why not?
So you like doing a lot of things with your hands, huh? Like just working wise and carving and stuff. You have a passion for that too.
Say that again.
So you like doing you said the flutes and all that. You carve them by hand, everything by hand?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just like it started off.
Use the drill press for drilling the holes. Finding out where they go is the thing about that, is to know exactly where to drill the hole. And I discovered how to do that. And that is basically, you start with a clone. You make a model first. You have one that you can experiment on and make whatever mistakes you can. You have to. And I roll that when you're drilling holes for flute, you always want to err on the flat side. Drill the hole down further, drill it lower, because you could always make the pitch higher by carving it out, by opening up the hole. It'll make the pitch higher. So knowing those things through experimentation, nobody told me that. I learned it myself, And so I made some pretty decent flutes.
I love it. I love doing these interviews because you're always learning something. So it's amazing that that you had that. Do you have any children?
No,
No,
just
children.
a dog.
What type of dog?
He's a bulldog border collie, and his name is Poe. And we've had him for a couple of years now. He's 13 years old. He's a good little guy. He's walking around here somewhere.
Yeah, unconditional love. I mean, dogs. I've had dogs my whole life. My dad, when I was a kid, my dad used to take dogs out of shelters. We always had 2-3 dogs running around the house. And since I have a 14, I have a 14 to 16-year-old daughter, and since I got married, I've been married for 19 years. We've always had a dog around the house. I mean, it's just that unconditional love is so special, especially around children and stuff like that, right? It's just. Yeah.
My only complaint is they don't live long enough.
Yeah, that's
they only last at the tops maybe 15, 16, 17 years.
Yeah, and it's that heartfelt miss, right? I was talking to somebody about. Yeah, it's hard. I was talking about this with somebody the other day when my prior dog passed away, Milo. He was 14-year-old lab and golden lab, and in our kitchen we have a chalkboard, and my daughter at the time Sierra was maybe 11, 12. The next day in the morning, she on the chalkboard. It's been 4 years now. She drew a picture of Milo, and she put, "We'll miss you forever. I love you, Milo." And it's been 4 years, Frank, and no one has the balls to erase it off the chalkboard. It's still on the chalkboard 4 years later, and we have another dog, and we've had another dog now, Jax, for 2 years. But yeah, you won't touch it because they fill your heart, right? It's just that unconditional love is incredible, right?
They don't expect anything in return; they just give.
Yeah,
they give their love. And there's nothing else like that. People aren't like that.
No.
They don't have any end game. They just want to love you.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Do you want to leave anything with our audience? How to get a hold of you? How to actually, let me ask you one last question. If something were to happen to you today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered, described by your loved ones or your friends or family?
Well, I guess you just look at my career and what I had to say, and look at the stuff I've written. I've tried to do a good job with everything that I've written, and it's all in the books. And I'm pretty sure my wife will outlast me. She's a bit younger than me, and she's very healthy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not healthy, I am. But, she's got longevity on her side. Her mother lived to be like 98. And, she's doing very well.
Oh, you're doing very well.
She works out all the time. She tap dances now, and she's always doing something. She's very artistic and very talented.
How long have you been married for?
55 years.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
My this Saturday is a year since my father passed away, and he was my dad was 75 when he passed away, and him and my mom were married for 52 years. And it's a special bond. I mean, you don't hear marriages lasting that long any longer. It's very, very hard. No,
is your mother still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive. She's still with us.
Good.
And she's healthy and strong. And she was 6 years younger than my dad, but she's healthy and strong. And she's, her mom is still alive at 92.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's that bond is very hard to see nowadays. I've been married for 19 years. And I look at all my friends and that I kind of went to high school and stuff, and most of them are divorced, most of them are separated. It's like I'm the oddball that's still married, right? So it's very hard to see that, but I commend you on that, and I appreciate that. Obviously, the love and the care has been there for all those years.
The Buddha only lived to be 80.
Yeah.
Now that wasn't the best record for his time, because there are people living to 100, and the disciples were sort of not in approval of when he decided to end it all, when he just laid down and died because he ate some poisoned pork, and that was it for him. But he knew it was time to go.
Interesting. So are you really? Do you really focus on Buddhism? Do you study it?
Well, I'm a Buddhist if the cloud is a member of the sky.
Interesting.
Is the cloud a member of the sky? I'm asking you.
Oh, is the cloud a member of the sky?
A member of the sky.
I've never had anybody even asked that or even heard that before. I would say no. It would be separated.
Then I'm not a Buddhist.
Okay. And if I said yes?
Then I'm a Buddhist. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Yeah. So it's yes and no. So it all depends on, I guess there's certain aspects of it that you believe and focus on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good common sense in it.
I totally agree with you. I'm
very
a very
rational.
Yeah.
Very rational philosophy.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with that. I'm not a very religious person, but there's aspects of that are it just makes sense for day-to-day life. Just make you a better person, right?
The Buddha gave these seminars. They're called sutras. He addresses a large audience, and he he tells his teaching in these seminars that he did, and they're really some I can't pronounce this. Lankavatara Sutra.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of them. They're all available on Kindle. Is where I read a lot of these, and they're really good common sense. And then there's some authors who write things about it, like Allen Ginsberg. So it's some really good Buddhist stuff. One is called Gospel Noble Truths.
You said Allen what?
Allen Ginsberg, Ginsberg. Jack Kerouac is another one. They're called the Beat Authors.
Interesting.
Kerouac wrote some really good stuff. Some of his
so
longer.
So you've put some time into this then.
Oh, I like reading things like that. Kerouac's Dharma Bums is really good. It's Buddhist overtones and all of it. And Ginsberg's stuff is good. Like one of the lines from his Gospel Noble Truths is, "There is one way, you take the high road. In your big wheel, 8 steps you fly."
Interesting.
You don't know what that means, do you?
No, I'm trying to think it in my head. As you're saying it, I'm trying to get a visual of it. I'm a visual person, so I'm trying to get a visual of it. Say that again.
There is one way, you take the high road.
Okay.
In your big wheel, 8 steps you fly.
I still don't get it. Explain that to me.
What's the big wheel? The big wheel is the wheel of life.
Okay.
If you've seen the symbol for Buddhism,
yes,
with 8 prongs on it.
Yeah.
That's the big wheel. And the 8 steps you fly, that's the eightfold noble truth of Buddhism, which starts with right thought, right speech, right behavior, right view, right livelihood. There's 8 of them.
Yeah.
So you follow those and you fly. You rise above all of it. You fly above.
I love it. So you're a bundle of knowledge, huh?
Yes, I am. I keep learning.
I always say, there's nothing I always say is I say the day you die is the day you stop learning. You're always learning something every day. I mean, I've taken it. I'm running notes. I've taken a ton of stuff off this podcast. This stuff you're saying, your knowledge and what you.
Good. I'm glad you find it helpful.
You're always right. Every day when you wake up, you have to have that open mind that today's to be a new day, that you're going to learn something and intake something, right? And some of them you stick with, some of them you don't. It is what it is. But I mean, you're always going to be learning, whether somebody younger than you, older than you. There's so much knowledge out there, right?
I don't wake up with an open mind, because with me, there are dream fragments there. Things I dreamt about that I don't quite remember, most of them. But the fragments are there. And so they sort of served as objects of meditation. Because what I do early in the morning is I meditate for maybe an hour, and I say a mantra. That's my method of meditation now. So I say a mantra over and over and over again.
Is it the same mantra or different every day?
It's mainly the same mantra, but I have 2.
What are they?
One I use most of the time. One is called the Nembutsu. That means the name of the Buddha. Nembutsu.
Okay.
And it basically says Namo, which means I take refuge in. Amida is the primordial Buddha, going way, way back. And then Butsu means Buddha. I take refuge in, the Buddha, the teaching, the name, the life experience of the Buddha.
Interesting. That's awesome.
So I say that.
Yeah.
Then there's another one that I say. It's I don't know what the name of it is. It goes Om Amarani Jivantiya Swaha. So Om means sort of like a greeting. It means hello, good health, good luck to you. Amarati is the name of Amida Buddha. It's another name for him. Jivantiya is basically your vehicle through this life and through all of life. Jivantiya, Swaha means hooray. So, hello, I'm glad that there's such thing as the Buddha, and that I can, use to make me and the world a better place. Hooray. That's what it means. Om Amarani Jivantiya Swaha.
That's amazing. Is your wife does your wife follow this as well?
Not to the same extent as me. I mean, we used to call ourselves Zen Baptist, because she was basically, I was brought up as a Methodist, and she was brought up as a Baptist, and that's close enough. So, we're sort of on the same page in our relationship when we met.
Yeah.
There wasn't any kind of dogmatic thing between us. So we always got along on that. We're not really, hard fast in religion. We're not stuck in any part of it.
Yeah. I'm very same, and my wife's very much the same as well. I mean, there's certain aspects. Good. There's certain aspects, I think, of all religion. There's positives and there's negatives of all religion too, right? I mean, there's different ways. You just have to be very open to what parts you want to intake and what parts you want to make part of your life, right?
The main thing is to be open-minded with other people's attitudes. Don't think that they have to be like you.
Yeah.
It's not like if you don't believe like I do, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
You have to be open to everything, because somebody has something positive about them.
Yeah.
Some kind of, thing in their life experiences.
Yeah.
That helps them grow. So you can learn from it.
Yeah. I think that's probably the one negative aspect of certain, I would say the religion in general is exactly what you said. When there are individuals that have that mindset, if you don't follow me, you're the wrong way. Right. So having that mindset that's a very negative way. And I think that's when you look at religion and look at how religion affects and predicts towards war and anger and separate.
Too much literal interpretation.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that. This has been an interesting conversation, Frank. I appreciate you taking your time. I appreciate you getting back to me. Like I said, growing up, I grew up going through magazines as a kid, looking at you, and I'm 45 now, 45 now. I forget my age. And it was when I saw you on social media, and our podcast has grown drastically. I mean, we get a lot of downloads and we get a big following in Canada. And I thought it would be such an honor to have you on. So it's been a pleasure, an honor. I want to say thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to do this. This has been fantastic. I hope you had an okay time on the show.
Thank you. One last word is 100%. If anybody wants to touch base with me, you could always email me. My email is Zane000. That's 3 zeros and the number 1. Wait, I remember this. I won the Olympia 3 times. Zane0001 at AOL.com.
I'll put that on all our show notes.
And I'll get back to you in some manner.
I'll put that on all our show notes, and I'll put all their social media links and all that stuff. And I'll put a link to your website and all that stuff as well. Great,
I appreciate that. Thank
100%, buddy. 100%. Thank you so much again, buddy.
Okay. My pleasure, Jeff. Good luck to you.
Thank you, buddy. That's a wrap for today. I want to thank our guest, Frank Zane, for taking time out of his busy schedule to be a guest on the Jeff Knows Zane podcast. Great conversation with a legend, somebody that's accomplished so much in his life. If you guys enjoy this show as much as I have, like all weeks, tell your friends, tell your family, help spread the word. We're trying to build something special here. Leave a review. 5 stars will be absolutely amazing. Myself, my team love spending time reading reviews. Until next week, guys, keep moving forward.